My boyfriend and I had arranged to meet during the National Day holiday, but that day I found out my train ticket had been refunded by someone. I only found out after I got back to the dorm. It was a roommate who used my phone to get a refund so that another student wouldn't be able to get a ticket home. I confronted her. My roommate, however, said matter-of-factly, "Their family member is sick and needs them to go back and take care of them. Your boyfriend isn't dying or anything, so you can just go see him next time." Who would have thought that my roommate's words would come true? My boyfriend went back to the company to work overtime because I didn't go see him. A fire broke out in the building, and my boyfriend was burned to death at his desk. I was heartbroken beyond words. Just as I was finally about to move on, my roommate said she would take me out to clear my head, but instead she took me to the countryside for a blind date. It turned out that some rural thug was looking for a partner online, and my roommate thought I was a good match and wanted me to marry him. I thought it was ridiculous and tried to leave, but the rural thug locked me in a basement. Later, I was rescued, but it left an indelible psychological shadow. She died of depression. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my roommate used my phone to refund the ticket. 1. I was reborn in the washroom, asked someone nearby for the date and time, and hurried back to the dormitory. Sure enough, Duan Banksia was holding my phone and processing the ticket refund, while Sun Yaoyao stood nearby, phone in hand, waiting to snag the ticket. "Duan Banksia," I shouted loudly, and Duan Banksia trembled all over in fright. Before she could react, I rushed over and snatched the phone away. The interface was still on the order page. Seeing that the ticket refund hadn't gone through yet, I breathed a sigh of relief. "Vivian, you scared us to death." Duan Banksia patted her chest and looked at me with a resentful expression. Seeing her, I was instantly furious. "What did you take my phone for?" Upon hearing what I said, Duan Banksia smiled and said, "Yaoyao's hometown is a city, but she didn't manage to get a train ticket home for National Day. Aren't you going to a city to see your boyfriend during the National Day holiday? If you cancel yours, and Yaoyao moves fast, she'll definitely be able to grab one." Seeing how righteous she sounded, I got even angrier. "I finally managed to get this ticket. What right do you have to make me cancel it?" Duan Banksia said. "Shanweizi, I'm begging you to have a little compassion, okay? Yaoyao's family just had surgery, and she needs to go back to take care of them. You're only going there to find your boyfriend and date him anyway. Your boyfriend isn't dying, is he? You can go see him next time." In my previous life, Duan Banksia manipulated me with this very same moral blackmail. However, by the time I discovered that she had refunded my ticket, it was already National Day. When she said those things, I was angry, but I also felt that Sun Yaoyao's matter was more important. But I never expected that Duan Banksia's words would come true, because I didn't go to see my boyfriend. He went back to the company to work overtime. As a result, their office building caught fire that day, and my boyfriend was burned alive at his desk. It was only later that I learned my boyfriend had a slight heart problem that day. He was the only one working overtime. He had a heart attack, which was why he couldn't run out. My boyfriend was my senior by 3 years, and our relationship had always been very good. After he died, I was grief-stricken and even developed depression from missing him. Later, I finally managed to start recovering a little. Duan Banksia said she wanted to take me back to her rural hometown to relax and clear my mind. I went with her. It turned out she didn't want me to relax at all. She wanted to introduce me to a rural loafer as a boyfriend. That rural loafer, Li Jinghua, was only 1 meters tall and had dropped out of junior high school. He had posted online looking for a partner, saying he wanted a tall girlfriend. Duan Banksia thought I was a perfect fit. When I heard that, I thought the whole thing was utterly ridiculous. I couldn't help but give Duan Banksia a thorough scolding. But Duan Banksia looked at me with the expression of someone whose kindness had been repaid with ingratitude. "Dan Weizi, I'm doing this for your own good too. Look, you've been heartbroken for so long and still haven't gotten over it. The person I introduced to you is so much like your ex-boyfriend, and he just happens to want to find a tall girl. You don't look down on disabled people, do you?" Her words hit me hard, and I was a little overwhelmed. I wanted to say something else. Duan Banksia shook off my hand as I grabbed her arm. "You just need to spend some time building a relationship with him." Then Duan Banksia left Li Jinghua's house with lightning speed. Just as I was about to run, Li Jinghua grabbed me and took me to the basement. He kept me locked in his house for 2 weeks. My family couldn't find me and reported me to the police. Only after the police traced it to Duan Banksia did she tell the truth. I had only just been rescued, but this incident still left me with a considerable psychological shadow. My depression worsened, and one morning, I jumped from the rooftop. Thinking of this, I felt a dull pain in my chest. I glanced at Duan Banksia, and refused outright. No. 2. Duan Banksia frowned. 1. We're all classmates. What's wrong with helping out? Sun Yaoyao looked at me, her eyes suddenly red. 1. Please, my family really needs care. If you think that's unfair to you, I can add some money and buy it from you. Seeing her like this, it was as if someone in her family had come down with some serious illness. It was only later in my previous life that I learned that the so-called her family member needs surgery. And needs care. In Sun Yaoyao's mouth was actually her father's hemorrhoid surgery. She hadn't managed to get a ticket and really wanted to go home, so she kept using that excuse as her cover. Facing the gazes of the two of them, I showed no sign of compromise. My boyfriend has health issues too. I'm going to see a doctor with him this time. Your boyfriend is so young, even if he is sick, it can't be anything serious. It wouldn't matter if you went to see it later, Duan Banksia said. Righteously, you really have no empathy. If you were the one who needed help, I would definitely spare no effort to help you. Duan Banksia was the class's famously kind-hearted person. She liked helping the weak and rescuing stray animals. He is exceptionally magnanimous toward everyone, but while she is magnanimous, I am the one who pays the price. In my first year of college, I got food poisoning from eating duck heads at a stall near the school gate, and when I went to the owner, he ignored me. I wanted to report him to the Industry and Commerce Bureau, but Duan Banksia stopped me, saying the duck head shop owner was running a small business and that I shouldn't be relentless. Later, the duck head shop owner twisted the facts and posted the incident on the confessions wall, and I became the target of everyone's criticism. After I finally managed to explain everything clearly, the duck head shop was boycotted, yet Duan Banksia was angry with me. She called me a cold-blooded animal for not leaving people any way out. For Mother's Day, I bought my mom a set of luxury skincare products. Duan Banksia turned around and gave them to a freshman junior who had just entered school. She said the junior girl was from the mountains and had never used skincare products before. Duan Banksia was afraid she would ruin her skin by buying cheap skincare products, so she gave her the good set instead. I argued with her. Duan Banksia said impatiently, "Why are you being so petty? I'll pay her back for you, won't I?" What she called paying me back was just giving me an IOU. Not a single cent has been repaid so far. Okay, I can give the ticket to Yaoyao. I reopened my phone and found the flight booking page. Didn't you say that if I needed help, you'd spare no effort to help me? There are flight tickets to City A. If you buy me a flight ticket, how about I give this train ticket to her? With National Day approaching, even if there were flight tickets, they were absurdly expensive. Looking at the price of the flight ticket, Duan Banksia's face went pale. "You're so rich, why don't you buy it yourself?" I let out a cold laugh. The money I have was given to me by my parents too. I spent too much of my pocket money this month, otherwise how could I possibly have bought a hard seat? Didn't you say you'd help me? Hurry up and transfer the money. Duan Banksia's face turned pale, then red. In the end, she said angrily, "What do you mean you don't have money? I think you simply don't want to give up this train ticket. If you don't want to, that's fine. I believe there are still people at school who would be willing to give theirs up." After saying that, Duan Banksia pulled Sun Yaoyao away. Only then did I catch my breath. I sat down on the bed. A few seconds later, I suddenly snapped awake. I took out my phone and called my boyfriend. Hearing a familiar voice again, I was extremely excited. I argued with my boyfriend for a long time, warning him on the phone to eat properly and rest on time. Under my threats and inducements, he finally agreed to go to the hospital tomorrow to have his heart checked. When I hung up, my phone was so hot it could fry an egg. Then I saw people tagging me constantly in the school group chat. "Sorry to bother everyone, but I urgently need a train ticket to City A for the National Day holiday. I hope everyone can help me out and see if we can manage to get one." After she sent that message, people quickly asked how she was planning to get it, and why she absolutely had to buy one. After Duan Banksia explained, many students who were also going to City A for National Day stepped forward to help. When Duan Banksia felt flattered and overwhelmed, she didn't forget to me too. "Did you see that? There are still more good people in this world." At Shanweizi 3, as soon as she posted that, of course many people became curious about what I had done, but someone in the group asked what had happened. Duan Banksia had suddenly become tight-lipped at this point and wouldn't say anything no matter what was asked. She only said that if there were any questions, people could message her privately. I talked on the phone with my boyfriend for an hour, and all the gossip-loving people already knew the whole story. Even classmates I was close with sent me screenshots. The gist of the above is that Duan Banksia said I was love-brained. Even though Sun Yaoyao had pleaded with me like that, I still insisted on going to find my boyfriend. Seeing this, I felt a surge of anger rush straight to my head. I took a few breaths. I appeared in the group. "Sorry, it's Sun Yaoyao. I didn't realize that your dad's hemorrhoid surgery was so serious that he was almost dying. In that case, my boyfriend's heart condition can indeed wait a little longer before being treated." As soon as those words were spoken, the group fell silent for a few seconds. Immediately, someone with a sense of justice stepped forward. "What? Hemorrhoids? Is what she said true? At Sunyayo, heart disease is not even as serious as hemorrhoids. Are you kidding me? I want to ask at Sunyayo, how do you plan to take care of your dad? If you're going to pull down your dad's pants and apply medicine, will your dad agree?" Messages in the group kept flooding in, but Duan Banksia and Sunyaya never appeared again. Some people also came over to apologize to me, saying they had misunderstood me. After apologizing, she realized that this wasn't the first time she had apologized. Last time, over the duck neck shop incident, she also criticized me and then apologized to me. I was just taking in all these apologies. Duan Banksia came back in a fury. She was trembling all over with anger, looking at me as if she wanted to eat me alive. "Shanweizi, you've gone too far. How is Yaya supposed to stay at school after what you did? Now all the classmates know that her dad has hemorrhoids." I shot her a cold look. "When you were making things up about me with them, why didn't you think about how I'd managed to stay at school? That's not the same. Your family is so rich, so what if we say a few things about you, Duan Banksia? Just because my family has money doesn't mean I stole it from you." I pointed at her nose and cursed. "You take my things to do favors for others, and if I agree, it means you're a nice person. If I refuse, it means I'm cold-blooded. Do you take me for a sucker? In my last life, I really did think Duan Banksia was a decent person. That's why I trusted her unconditionally. Only then did I realize that Duan Banksia was not a saint. She resents the rich. She thinks that since I have money, I should be willing to endure a little grievance." I exposed the truth. Duan Banksia began to feel guilty. "I didn't mean that. I was just about to ask you what you meant. The class monitor called me and said the counselor wanted Duan Banksia and me to go to the office. After we got there, we found that Sun Yao was there too. After asking around, we found out that the things we said in the group chat were known by the school leadership. They thought it had a bad influence, so they asked the counselor to do some ideological work with us." Seeing the counselor, Duan Banksia acted as if she had seen a relative, and burst into tears again, saying that I had misunderstood her. She had always thought she had a good reputation at school, and that she got along well with the counselor on ordinary days, so the counselor would definitely side with her. I watched her put on her act from the side, calmly. Who would have thought that after hearing the whole story, the counselor would actually say to her, "Then this is your fault. Isn't that just generosity with other people's money? If you really wanted to help, why didn't you buy Sun Yao a plane ticket?" Duan Banksia froze. The tears on her face even stopped. The counselor said a few more symbolic words, telling us to come to her if we had any conflicts and not to post randomly in the school group chat anymore. Then she sent us away. I had just reached the doorway. Duan Banksia caught up with me. "Shanweizi, I looked down on you. You actually gave the counselor a gift." I immediately understood what Duan Banksia meant. She thought that the counselor was siding with me instead of her, so there must definitely be some secret deal between us. I actually laughed in anger. "Duan Banksia, you don't actually think you're in the right, do you?" Duan Banksia said. I meant, well, how am I not in the right? I found there was no way to communicate with her. I refused to continue talking to her. For the next few days, I didn't bother with Duan Banksia anymore. She started complaining everywhere again, saying I was giving her the silent treatment, but after what happened last time, hardly anyone was willing to believe her anymore. Soon, the National Day holiday arrived. In this lifetime, I finally got to ride a train as I had wished. At my strong insistence, my boyfriend also went to the hospital for a checkup, and because he went in time, a minor heart problem was caught. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. A bit of medication was enough to fix it. However, after the checkup, he was still shaken and decided to quit his job and find a different one. I strongly agree with his choice. After we had a great time for a few days and I saw that my boyfriend was perfectly fine, a weight was finally lifted from my mind. After returning to school, I still didn't pay much attention to Duan Banksia. She came to show me goodwill several times, and even apologized to me. I made my stance very clear. I didn't want to have anything to do with someone like her anymore. I thought that once I drew a clear line, she would stop causing trouble for me. Until the day the list of national scholarships was announced, I didn't see my own name in it. To apply for the national scholarship, I made a lot of preparations, and I stayed ranked first in my year for all 3 years of college. So when the school asked for electronic copies, I sent everything over immediately. It wasn't until the list was announced that I realized I had sent in my materials, but the advisor never contacted me for a defense or anything like that. I went to find the counselor. The counselor told me that they had not received my application, afraid that I wouldn't believe it. They even opened their email to show me. My heart sank. I opened my phone's email app to check. Sure enough, my email had been recalled on the same day it was sent. And the reason I only realized this now is that my boyfriend's death in my previous life had dealt me a huge blow, and I had neglected my studies there. Was no way I would have been able to care about the scholarship. Who else could have done this? No investigation needed. I rushed back to the dormitory in a hurry and walked up to Duan Banksia. I raised my hand and slapped her. Was it you? For Duan Banksia covered her face, unable to believe it. You hit me. What right do you have to hit me? After she came to her senses, she started pulling my hair. But she was no match for me at all. In the end, Duan Banksia was pinned beneath me, and I grabbed her hair hard, asking, "Did you withdraw the email of my application for the national scholarship?" Upon hearing this, Duan Banksia instantly became guilty. She said softly, "It was me." I was even angrier. "What right do you have to withdraw my application? I'm doing this for your own good too." Duan Banksia suddenly had red-rimmed eyes. I didn't know whether it was because I'd hit her or because she truly felt wronged. "Do you know? Yao Yao also applied for this scholarship. She's in 3rd place. And if you were in it, she'd definitely be eliminated. Her family's in poor financial condition. You don't need the scholarship, but she does. You don't even know how grateful she was to you after I withdrew your application. So that's how it is, and here I am, supposed to thank her for being grateful to me." I was so angry I was left speechless. Duan Banksia, however, took it as if I had accepted it. She went on, Wei, you shouldn't have competed for the scholarship in the first place. Scholarships are meant to help people who need them, and they should go to those from poorer families. What you're doing is wrong, and if word gets out, people will point fingers at you behind your back." I grabbed her ear and shouted, "Why should they point fingers at me? Do you even know the difference between the National Scholarship and the National Encouragement Scholarship? The National Scholarship is awarded to someone capable like me, while the National Encouragement Scholarship is for poor students like Sun Yaoyao." Duan Banksia cried out in pain, yet she still spoke with complete righteousness. "But there's a 3,000 yuan difference between those two scholarships. Do you know that? 3,000 yuan is 2 months' living expenses for an ordinary family. You should give it up to a classmate who needs it more." At last I understood what it means to be talking to the air. If she wants the national scholarship, she should work hard for it herself. What kind of skill is it to snatch mine? Duan Banksia, come with me to see the school leadership right now. I'm going to tell them all about your little tricks. You have to give me back my scholarship. I yanked Duan Banksia to her feet and pulled her toward the door. When she heard that I was going to see the school leaders, Duan Banksia actually started crying. Tears fell one large drop after another, as if she had suffered some enormous grievance. "Duan Weizi, you've changed. You weren't like this before." Duan Banksia cried and sniffled, making it seem as if I were some scumbag who got a woman pregnant and then abandoned her. "You used to say we were good friends. In my previous life, my relationship with Duan Banksia really was very good, because I thought she was a pretty good person. Besides, I did have a bit of money, so I didn't really mind some things, but I didn't expect her to actually screw me over to the end." I looked at her coldly. "Can a good friend withdraw my scholarship application for me? After all these things, why do I feel like Sun Yaoyao and Duan Banksia are the ones who are truly friends through thick and thin?" Duan Banksia said, "Of course, good friends should be of one mind, so close they wear the same pants. You do things for me, I do things for you. My thoughts are your thoughts. Vivi, the one thing I've never liked about you is that I can't see any sense of dedication in you at all." Hearing it this way, the definition of a good friend really does seem to be like this. Why does it sound so strange coming out of her mouth? Because she thinks I'm her good friend, so she believes every choice she makes for me is the right one, including giving away my train ticket and handing over my scholarship to someone else. I was silent for a moment. I looked up and asked her seriously, "So what you mean is, as long as we're good friends, and as long as it's for your own good, I can make decisions however I want, right?" Duan Banksia sobbed and said, "Of course, fine. Fine, fine." I nodded. After hearing those words, a bold plan formed in my mind. "Since you put it that way, as your good friend, of course I have to do some things that are for your own good." A few minutes later, I smilingly tipped Duan Banksia's hand. "You're right, we're good friends. I overreacted and shouldn't have said those things." 5. Duan Banksia looked at me and thought I had truly come to my senses. "It's okay, as long as you know I'm doing all this for your own good. You just need to change your stingy habit in the future." "Of course, I'll definitely learn from you, help the weak and be brave in giving." Duan Banksia let out a sigh of relief. "It's really great that you can think that way." I chuckled and directly snatched Duan Banksia's phone. She knows my password, so naturally I know hers too. Under Duan Banksia's bewildered gaze, I opened WeChat and sent a message to the counselor. "Counselor, I am Duan Banksia. I am voluntarily donating this semester's university-level scholarship to the poor students in our class, in hopes of helping them After you send it, take a screenshot and send it to my number. I smiled and handed the phone back to Duan Banksia. A few seconds later, she let out a shrill scream. Shanweizi, what are you doing? What gives you the right to donate my scholarship? Seeing that Duan Banksia was about to take back the message, I quickly sent the screenshot to the class group chat. Classmates, take a look at how selfless Duan Banksia is. The group immediately started buzzing with discussion. Wow, Lady Duan is once again beginning to save all living beings, thanks to Miss Duan for her generous help. What a wonderful person. With each cry of Miss Duan, Duan Banksia's face quickly heated up, and her expression turned contorted. She shouted at me in embarrassment and anger. Shanweizi, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Do you know how much effort I put into getting this scholarship? I earned it with my own ability, and now you've donated it away. What am I supposed to do? Of course I know how hard Duan Banksia worked for her scholarship. She started running to the library right after her freshman year classes, and she was still studying on weekends, but she wasn't very gifted, so after working this hard for so long, all she managed to get was a school-level scholarship. I blinked and held up my phone to show him the message in the group chat. Banksia, your family's situation isn't that difficult, so why can't you donate it? Look at these underprivileged students, they're all grateful to you. Everyone was lavishing praise on Duan Banksia. Even the counselor stepped in to praise Duan Banksia's selfless spirit. The matter was already set in stone. Duan Banksia sat on the bed, holding her phone, dejected, but she never said another word about not donating. Seeing her like this, I felt extremely satisfied. What saintly mother is there in this world? It's just that if the knife hasn't fallen on your own body, you'll never know how painful it is. But how could I stop at doing just this one good deed? The next day, Duan Banksia was called over by the counselor. I packed up the cotton-padded clothes from her quilt and wardrobe, and carried them out the door. Less than an hour later, Duan Banksia called me. Danweizi, where are you? They said you took my quilt. Why did you take my quilt? It's getting cold. The stray cats at school don't have warm shelters, so I thought I'd give them the quilt to use as a nest. Duan Banksia let out a piercing scream on the other end of the phone. I could even imagine her furious, stomping her feet in anger. You gave my blanket to them, so what am I supposed to cover myself with? And my cotton coat, did you take that too? I nodded. I took it. Bring it back to me right now. The few cats in front of me clearly liked this pile of junk very much. I let out a soft laugh. Duan Banksia, I have to criticize you here. Could you show a little compassion? Little cats and dogs are so pitiful. I'm doing this for your own good. Can you really bear to watch these stray cats and dogs freeze to death? 6. After Duan Banksia hung up my call, she rushed to my side within 10 minutes. Unfortunately, she was still a step too late. The quilt and padded coat were already covered in cat hair. There was even feces left behind by the kittens on them. Even though the quilt was already filthy beyond recognition, Duan Banksia still drove away the stray cats and dogs, carried the quilt and padded coat back to the dormitory. No matter how hard she washed it, it still couldn't be cleaned properly. Looking at the ruined blanket, Duan Banksia cried in the dorm. Shanweizi, how am I supposed to sleep tonight, without clothes? I'm going to freeze to death this winter. As soon as she started crying like that, it drew quite a few people over to watch. The girls in her class all began to comfort her and turned to criticize me. They said I acted without thinking, that how could I casually deal with someone else's things without that person's permission, and that I had no morals at all. I listened to all this with a calm expression and argued back, but Duan Banksia said it herself. We're good friends. Good friends can make decisions about each other's things. Besides, I'm not doing anything bad. The quilt and clothes are already so old. What's wrong with giving them to the kitten? Just buy another set. I said it so lightly, but I also knew full well that this whole setup wouldn't come cheap. It'd cost at least 2,000 yuan, although Duan Banksia's family wasn't exactly poor. Her parents wouldn't just casually give her 2,000 yuan either. Duan Banksia cried and said, how could I possibly have that much money? Vivi, you've really gone too far this time. Stray cats have their own fur. How could they possibly freeze to death? I waved my hand impatiently and, imitating Duan Banksia's tone, said, Duan Banksia, you're being way too petty. If it really won't work, I'll pay for it. Hearing my words, Duan Banksia's eyes lit up. She took out her phone and added up the cost of all those items again and again, and in the end told me to pay her 2,500 yuan. I nodded slightly, took out the IOU she had written for me from the drawer, and magnanimously said, there's 2,800 in here, the remaining 300 doesn't need to be paid. Duan Banksia must have completely forgotten about this IOU. She lowered her head to look at the note, then lifted her head to look at me. He was speechless for a long time. She looked pleadingly at the two people who had just spoken up for her. Unfortunately, these people were all normal and didn't think there was anything wrong with what I had done. After waiting a few seconds, Banksia started crying again. Shanweizi, I get it now, you're deliberately getting back at me, only now did I realize how skilled she was at twisting right and wrong. You're still fixated on what happened last year. I did give your stuff to my junior, but that junior really had a hard time. I also said I'd pay you back for the money. So why do you have to be so aggressive? She thought that saying this would make everyone side with her, but the two girls in our dorm couldn't stand it anymore. Outsiders didn't know what she was really like, but the ones in the same dorm had suffered plenty at her hands. Come on, Banksia, stop acting pitiful. That was your fault to begin with. If you wanted her to use skincare products, why didn't you buy her a set yourself? Vivi saved every penny for that skincare set and worked part-time every day, only for you to play the good guy and give it away. That's right, I thought you'd paid this money back long ago, but it turns out you've never repaid it at all. You really have no shame. Since his rebirth, Banksia's reputation had gone from bad to worse. Rumors about him had also been spreading everywhere at school. After hearing the criticisms of Banksia from the people in the same dormitory, the few who had just scolded me all flushed red. So that's how it is, Danweizi. I'm sorry, we didn't understand the situation. I didn't take those words to heart at all. After all, those insults weren't aimed at me alone. The one who started this whole thing was Banksia, being condemned by everyone. Banksia even forgot how to cry. He said angrily, why are you all siding with her? This was clearly her fault. Oh, I get it. You must be cozying up to her on purpose because she has money. What benefits did she give you? It wasn't just me. The others present were all speechless at Banksia's way of thinking. How could she be so confidently certain that she was in the right? One of the girls in the same dorm rolled her eyes. We're nowhere near as good at flattering people as you are. From the very first day of school, you've been calling her your good sister, secretly using her meal card to treat other people to dinner, sneaking her evening gown out to lend to others, and even taking snacks from the senior pursuing Weiwei. I gaped in shock, only then realizing that Banksia had been doing so many things behind my back. No wonder money kept disappearing from my meal card for no reason. I had left a dress at school to wear when hosting the freshman welcome gala. Later, I forgot to take it home, and when I took it out again, I found oil stains on it. And that senior, that day, he inexplicably stopped me and asked why I accepted the gift but didn't add him on WeChat. Banksia grew embarrassed and angry at being teased. Fine. You're all bullying me. Anyway, I don't have a blanket anymore, so I'm not staying here tonight. After saying that, she quickly left the dormitory, afraid I might cause her trouble. 7. After Banksia left, she didn't return to the dorm for several days, nor did she go to class. It wasn't until the police came to ask us about the situation that we learned she had gone missing. The police officer asked us what had happened that day. After we recounted it truthfully, the police officer was also speechless at her behavior, but still lectured us. If she had been gone for so long, why didn't you go look for her? I replied, we thought she had gone to find Sun Yaoyao. The two of them were the closest. The police officer then brought Sun Yaoyao in again. Sun Yaoyao said, she did come to see me, but she wanted to borrow money from me to buy a quilt. I didn't lend it to her, so she left. After the police left, we learned that Banksia and Sun Yaoyao had had a big argument that day. Banksia felt that she had been so good to Sun Yaoyao on ordinary days and had even gone out of her way to snag her a train ticket home for National Day, yet she wouldn't even help with this small favor. Sun Yaoyao said, I never asked you to get it for me. If you hadn't made such a fuss, how would the whole school have known that my dad had hemorrhoid surgery? Word had it that the two got into a spectacular quarrel that day. Banksia flew into such a rage that she nearly had a fit, vowing never to help anyone or do another kind deed for the rest of her life. Thank heavens, I hope she remembers that and absolutely never takes my things to do good deeds again. No one expected that when Banksia returned to school, it was to handle her withdrawal. After she packed up and took everything away, we saw a short boy waiting for her downstairs. Calling him short was generous. He looked more like a dwarf. Seeing Li Jingguo's face again made me feel sick. I would never be able to forget what happened when he locked me in the basement. That sense of despair still makes my skin crawl when I think about it now. Banksia left. Some people said that the moment she walked out of the school gate that day, she was accosted by this short man. The man was very strong and directly pulled her into a van. He kept muttering, you already agreed to it. If you go back on your word, I'll break your legs, just like in my past life. After Banksia was taken away by Li Jingguo, she was locked up in the basement. It was only when the police came looking that Banksia was rescued. Banksia and Li Jingguo were from the same village. Since this happened, by rights Li Jingguo should have been arrested, but after just a few days, he was released. The reason was that Banksia's family had actually issued a letter of forgiveness, stating that the two children were in a consensual relationship. Only then did I learn that Banksia had an intellectually disabled younger brother, and her family had long wanted to find him a wife. but they had no money. After Li Jinghua was taken into custody, his family promised to help resolve the matter, but the prerequisite was that Li Jinghua and Duan Bangxia had to get married. After learning this news, Duan Bangxia was naturally unwilling, but at this time, she discovered that she was pregnant. The two still got married. After getting married, Duan Bangxia proposed the idea of coming back to school to continue her studies, but Li Jinghua's family felt that if a woman went to school, she would run off far away. Not only did they refused to agree, they also forced Duan Bangxia to come back and withdraw from school. Duan Bangxia once again became famous at our school. Her story grew increasingly outrageous as it spread, but even the most widely circulated stories eventually come to rest. By the time I graduated, there were hardly any people talking about her anymore. After graduation, I chose to move to my boyfriend's city and live there. The girls in the same dormitory had all left early, leaving only me behind. In the middle of the night, someone knocked on the door. When I opened it, it was actually Duan Bangxia. She was holding a knife and stabbed straight at me, but even a year ago, she couldn't beat me. Even with a knife, she still wasn't my match. I subdued her easily and called the police. Duan Wanzi, you will die a horrible death. Duan Bangxia, tied to the ground by me, screamed this hysterically. She must have just given birth. In her agitation, there was a pool of liquid on the floor. I said nothing. She continued cursing. If you do something so immoral, you're going to hell. I smiled faintly. It seemed she had found out the truth. Although they were from the same village, the two had a huge age gap, and Li Jinghua had never paid any attention to Duan Bangxia. Why would he suddenly take him away? Of course, it was because I tipped Duan Bangxia's phone and photos to go look for Li Jinghua and start an online romance. Otherwise, how would Li Jinghua have found his way to the school? Duan Bangxia had long resigned herself to her fate, yet while she was still in confinement after giving birth, Li Jinghua dropped a cutting remark. If you hadn't taken the initiative to seek me out, do you really believe I would have set my sights on you? After Duan Bangxia asked Li Jinghua for the truth, she followed the clues and figured it out from there. But what good does it do to know now? It's already too late, I said. I was doing this for your own good too. Haven't you always thought my boyfriend was handsome and wanted to find someone who looks like him? Look at your husband. He looks so much like him, and he likes you too. Oh, you're not looking down on disabled people, are you? Duan Bangxia broke down. Do you know what you've done? You've ruined my entire life, you bitch. If you want to get married that badly, then use your own photos to talk to him. Why did you have to use mine? I smiled playfully. Didn't you say it yourself? We're good friends, so whatever I do with your things is fine. Why can't you handle it when it's your turn? I spread out my hands. Besides, since you like to make sacrifices so much, can't you just treat it as helping the poor? Although Li Jinghua was uneducated, had little money, and was selfish, but he did hit people. Duan Bangxia glared at me even harder until the police came. She kept cursing at me. She told the police that I had once framed her and got her raped, and that she had come back for revenge. You shouldn't be arresting me. You should be arresting her. I walked up to her and said in surprise, Duan Bangxia, you can't just make things up. If you're going to say that, you need evidence. Where's your evidence? This matter happened so long ago that there's been no trace of it for a long time. Even if Duan Bangxia called her husband over, it would be useless. How could Li Jinghua ever serve as a witness to his own crime? On the contrary, it's an ironclad fact that Duan Bangxia wanted to kill me. She was destined to go to prison. However, after her family came, I still chose to forgive her. After all, staying comfortably at the police station, or going home to keep being abused by Li Jinghua, I preferred to let Duan Bangxia enjoy the latter. After leaving the police station, I went back to school, grabbed my things, and headed straight for the train station. Just as I stepped out of the school gate, I was stopped by a man. When I saw that familiar face, I smiled. My boyfriend had come to pick me up. That's great. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When I checked my college entrance exam scores, I got 0 in every subject. I wasn't the one who went crazy, but my cousin and her family did. They didn't know that I had been reborn. In my previous life, my cousin deliberately bound the paper swapping system, so my scores became hers, and hers became mine. Finally, as the top student in my grade, I didn't even get into a vocational college. I was so disoriented that I got into a car accident and died tragically. In this life, I chose to quietly secure a spot through early admission first, and then take the college entrance exam. The main goal is to completely outplay them. After the college entrance exam results came out, I, who had always been the top student in my grade, only scored a little over 200 points, not even enough for a vocational college, while my cousin Fiona, who had never studied properly, scored 710 points. Yale and Peking university were competing to admit her. In a daze, as I stepped out of the house, a sudden electronic voice echoed in my mind. Linda's college entrance exam score is 710, successfully swapped with cousin Fiona. In 3 seconds, the person whose scores were swapped will be erased by the system. As the countdown reached a few seconds, I was hit and sent flying by a car that came out of nowhere, floating in the air. I watched my cousin's family surrounded by school officials and TV reporters. And my mother, dragging her urine bag, running toward me all alone. I truly cannot rest in peace. Opening my eyes again, back in my senior year of high school, I heard the mechanical electronic voice of the system in my cousin's mind. Congratulations, host, the college entrance exam paper swapping system you exchanged for with 30 years of your lifespan has been successfully bound. As long as your college entrance exam score exceeds 600 points, the exchanged lifespan will be returned threefold. And the person whose score is swapped will be erased. Otherwise, the host's entire family will be erased. Only then did I realize that my cousin's entire family had participated in this invisible murder. To achieve this, they mortgaged 30 years of their lives. David, Lucy, Fiona, 10 years each. How ruthless, just for the sake of the college entrance exam. They actually summoned such a murderous system using their own lifespans. After the electronic prompt sound in my cousin's head ended, a knocking sound was heard at home. Uncle David stood at the front, followed by his wife and daughter. He is a contractor with a bit of money, owns a large apartment in the city, and we used to see him during holidays when my grandparents were still around. After the older generation passed away, you wouldn't see anyone all year round, even though my mom is his own sister. But today, my uncle not only came in person but also brought a lot of things. He beamed with a smile. I heard that our niece is a top student at No. 1 high school, scoring over 700 points in every exam. I plan to have Fiona stay here and study with our niece. Sis, you wouldn't refuse this, would you? How could my mom refuse when her own younger brother asked for help? Besides, it was just a matter of adding one more person and one more pair of chopsticks, so she agreed. At that time, even though I disliked my uncle, I was focused on preparing for the exams and didn't think much of it. No one expected that Fiona moving in was the first step in the system's strategy, and my mom and I were still completely unaware. Foolishly walking into the trap set by my uncle's family in this life, Mom was about to agree again, but I suddenly burst into tears like a tough girl. Uncle, I don't plan to take the college entrance exam anymore. 4 pairs of wide, shocked eyes stared back at me in the room, especially David, Lucy, and Fiona. The eyes of their family of 3 were even wider and rounder than my mom's, as if they had been scared to death. Exactly, their entire family had just bound their lifespans to the exam swapping system. If I don't take the college entrance exam, the whole family will be erased. Isn't all this effort in vain? Looking at their expressions, I found it quite amusing. Has it already gotten this interesting so early on? My unsuspecting mother cautiously asked me. Linda, what happened? Tell me. Mom has the money to support your studies. Don't overthink it. My mother had a hard life. Her parents favored their son. So even though she got the top score in the high school entrance exam, they didn't send her to school. Instead, they married her off early and used the bride price to pay for my uncle's education. Fortunately, my father, though poor, was a good man. Sadly, he also had a tough life and was killed by a cement slab. My mother's family looked down on her for being poor and refused to help her. My uncle relied on my mother's bride price to get an education, became successful, and also looked down on his sister. Feels like an investment with no return, unwilling to help. Mom has to both support the family and pay for my education all by herself, while putting off her own illness and not seeking treatment. In my previous life, she actually had kidney disease at this time, and it could have been completely cured if treated immediately, but she kept it from me, afraid that if I found out, I wouldn't take the college entrance exam. The pain of not having attended college. My mother remembers it for a lifetime, and she doesn't want me to experience it too. She wants me to fly out of poverty. She wants me to embrace a vast life. She is willing to carry a heavy burden herself, moving forward with the weight for me. Thinking of how, after I died, my mother stumbled as she chased after the urine bag that had fallen out of me. My heart aches. In this new life, I must find a way to save my mother, and I want my uncle to bear all the cost and effort. Seeing me with my head lowered, my uncle spoke up. Linda, why do you suddenly not want to take the college entrance exam? If you have any difficulties, you can tell your uncle. My aunt nodded her head like a chicken pecking at rice. Yes, yes, yes. If there's anything you need help with, just say it. Only my cousin Fiona was straightforward. She screamed, Cousin, if you don't take the college entrance exam, I'm done for. Her mouth was quickly covered by my aunt. Fiona means that you are her role model. If you don't take the college entrance exam, it's like her favorite celebrity's reputation collapsing, and she Wouldn't want to live anymore, right, Fiona? Aunt glared. Fiona was so scared that she immediately started sweet-talking. Yes, cousin, while others idolize top celebrities, my idol is you. Everyone says with your grades, you're definitely going to be this year's top scorer in the college entrance exam. If you don't take it, how many young girls will be in tears? I sneered at her, quite the talker, though my heart was cold. The pitiful look on my face remained unchanged. Uncle, you don't know. My mom has nephritis, our family is just scavengers, where would we get the money to treat her? What's the point of me getting into college? It's better to start working early to earn money for my mom's treatment. After saying that, I started sobbing and wiping my tears with my sleeve. I stole a glance at my uncle's expression. His expression wasn't pleasant at the moment. How could it be pleasant back when I got into a key high school? My mother, who had just lost her husband, swallowed her pride and went to borrow 1,000 yuan from my uncle to cover the tuition fees. My uncle didn't even look at my mother's IOU before refusing. Big sister, don't be fooled by my seemingly glamorous life, driving a car and traveling everywhere. The truth is, I haven't made much money. I have to pay my employees, cover my wife's expenses, and my daughter's expenses. Every single one costs money. My mother was on the verge of kneeling to beg him, but I stopped her. A man's pride is as precious as gold, and a woman's dignity is equally invaluable. Finally, I borrowed money from my middle school homeroom teacher. Looking back now, the 120,000 yuan bride price my mom paid supported my brother's education, yet I couldn't even borrow 1,000 yuan. What a huge joke, to be honest. Even feeding and raising an animal would make it loyal. A brother like this is worse than an animal. I was still hiding in my sleeve, crying, and my mother comforted me. You silly child, once you get into college through the college entrance exam, won't you be able to earn money to treat my illness? Don't talk nonsense. After you finish crying, let's go study properly. How could my mother know that I never got into college, and she never recovered from her illness after I died? She followed me the very next day. My uncle, that tightwad, watched me sobbing. He remained silent for a long time, until finally my aunt pinched his arm and said through gritted teeth, David, what are you waiting for? Say it. Do you want our whole family to die? Only then did my uncle stomp his foot and say, Niece, stop crying, I'll cover the cost of the treatment. My aunt chimed in at the right moment. Yes, Linda, the college entrance exam is just around the corner. How can you skip the test? Don't worry about the medical expenses, your uncle will take care of it. My mother was about to refuse, but I quickly wiped away my tears, grabbed my uncle's arm, and headed for the door. The hospital said there's a kidney that matches my mom's. We just need to prepare 500,000 yuan. Let's go to the hospital and pay now. I knew my uncle was a contractor, and I had long heard rumors about him delaying his employees' wages. Who knows what excuse he'll come up with to delay it again. He can afford to drag his feet, but the patient can't wait. Sure enough, my uncle stopped in his tracks and looked troubled. Linda, you're still young and don't understand. No one has that much cash on hand all at once. You need to give me time to cash out some funds from the bank and sell some stocks when I have the chance. Hey, it really was guess right. Mom also grabbed me and told me not to make things difficult for Uncle. I looked at Mom, who had no idea, and thought to myself, I'm not making things difficult for Uncle. I'm giving him a chance to atone for his mistakes. Maybe when he goes to the 18th level of hell in the future, the little demons will let him skip one round of climbing the mountain of knives. I squeezed out 2 more tears and pulled out my phone. Mom was right. I was making things difficult for Uncle. I'll call my homeroom teacher right away, go through the withdrawal procedures later, and head to Guangdong to work tomorrow. Seeing that I had actually dialed my homeroom teacher's number, Uncle quickly snatched the phone and hung up. I'll go get the money right now. Your mom is my own sister. How could I possibly ignore her when she's sick? I smiled triumphantly. I haven't secured my spot for direct admission yet, so why would I drop out? The homeroom teacher's number I dialed was actually 10086, just a matter of changing a contact name. Simple. Having money really is great. With 500,000 yuan paid, my mom was admitted to the best hospital that very day, and a kidney source was secured. My uncle's whole family urged me to return to school, telling me not to delay my studies, but I glanced at the hospital room with a worried look. If I leave, who will take care of my mom? My aunt quickly said, Linda, we've already hired a caregiver. Meals will be delivered 3 times a day, and someone will stay with you at night. You can rest assured. I quickly waved my hand and said, Uncle, Aunt, you've already spent so much money. If I let you spend more on hiring a caregiver, that would be inconsiderate of me. My uncle said, hiring a caregiver isn't that expensive. Linda, you should still focus on your studies. It seems they won't get the hint unless I make it clearer. I took out the wash basin. Just now, I heard from the family of Grandma Wendy in the next bed that the caregivers here are very enthusiastic when it's time to get paid, but when you need them to do something, they're nowhere to be found. Also, I pointed to an auntie in bed number 14. That auntie over there said she needs to get up at night, and after calling the caregiver a few extra times, she got her thigh pinched. My eyes reddened. Taking care of someone really has to be done by your own people. Otherwise it's just suffering. At that, the couple fell silent. Uncle pretended he wanted to smoke, and Aunt immediately followed him out. Mom held my hand. Linda, Mom is fine. You should go back to school and study. I smiled at Mom. Don't worry, let me wipe your face first. In my previous life, after Fiona moved in, Uncle and Aunt bought me a lot of nutritional supplements every day and always asked about my grades with concern. Both Mom and I thought it was genuine care and were deeply moved. Later, my aunt broke her leg. She thought the caregiver was unreliable, so she had my mother take care of her for over half a month. She didn't pay a single cent, and my mother didn't say anything about it, but I overheard my aunt on the phone many times saying, "What's so good about her? She smells musty, and it disgusts me every time she touches me. If it weren't for saving a few bucks on a caregiver, She didn't mention any names, so I didn't think much of it. Now that I think about it, she was talking about my mom. She owes my mom, and before she dies, I want her to pay back every single debt. Clearing clean, I went to fetch water with a wash basin and heard Uncle David's voice from behind the fire door. "How about you take care of things here for a few days?" Aunt Lucy screamed. "David, are you crazy? This isn't just a matter of a few days. The doctor said she needs to stay in the hospital for at least 2 months after the surgery. For the first month, someone has to stay overnight and even help her with toileting. Let me tell you, even my own mother never received this kind of treatment." Uncle David comforted her. "Think of it this way, with Linda's grades, getting into Yale University is practically a sure thing. Once that happens, our plans with the LD group will fall into place." He paused for a moment and added, "Even if she doesn't get into Yale, Linda's scores are guaranteed to meet the system's requirement of 600 points. By then, Fiona will be in a good university, and our whole family will get triple the lifespan. The little sacrifice you're making now is definitely worth it." Only then did Aunt Lucy's resentment lessen a bit. "In that case, you have to buy a villa for each of my parents and my brother." David repeatedly agreed. "Once the college entrance exams are over, you can have whatever you want." I snorted coldly, carrying the water as I walked into the hospital room. "You can have whatever you want, but only if I agree to it." It didn't take long before the two of them came in one after the other. My uncle stood by the hospital bed and said, "Sister, Linda is right. Caregivers really aren't reliable. Coincidentally, Lucy is studying nursing, so let her take care of you." After saying this, my uncle looked at me. "Linda, now you can rest assured." Of course, I feel reassured. I already knew that my aunt had studied nursing, but she resigned after marrying my uncle. With solid professional knowledge and over 5 years of nursing experience, she must be much better than me or any caregiver. Otherwise, she wouldn't be qualified to take care of my mother. I quickly stood up. "Then I'll trouble you, Aunt." They thought it was finally over and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Little did they expect I would speak up again. "But with just Aunt taking care of you, staying in a shared ward would really be uncomfortable." "Uncle, you care so much about Aunt. Do you really have the heart to let her do that?" I deliberately used a playful tone, making it seem as though I was admiring their affection for each other. "No other reason, just wanted my uncle to spend a fortune to get my mom into a single suite. There's a refrigerator, a TV, and a microwave, with a private bathroom, one-on-one nursing care, meeting needs faster than others. More importantly, there's a video monitoring system that allows for communication. This way, my aunt can diligently take care of my mother right under my watchful eye, and I can both prepare for the recommendation exam with peace of mind and stay in constant communication with my mom. It's just that this private room is 10 times more expensive than a regular one, costing over $1,000 a day." My uncle glanced at my aunt but said nothing. I quickly imitated the green tea characters from TV dramas and gently patted my mouth. "Oh my, look at how inexperienced I am in love." Uncle must have already planned to switch to a private room, which is why he was willing to let Aunt take care of Mom, right, Uncle? I glanced at Aunt, who was also staring wide eyed at Uncle David. That tightwad quickly tried to appease Aunt in a flattering tone. "Darling, of course, how could I bear to let you sleep on a metal bed for 2 months? I've already made the arrangements. I'll go pay the fee right away, so we can switch to a private suite." After Mom's surgery, I immediately threw myself into preparing for the guaranteed admission process. Sometimes when I got tired from studying, I would check on Mom through the surveillance camera. Lucy really is professionally trained. Even the nurses sometimes ask her for advice and learn from her. But people, without supervision, always tend to slack off. Sometimes I study until 3 a.m., and when my mom needs to get up, I feel bad waking her, so I just force myself to get up on my own. Through the video, I could see that my aunt actually wasn't asleep. I just take it easy whenever I can. I deliberately spoke up in the video. Mom, Auntie has been working so hard taking care of you. How about starting tomorrow? I take over the caregiving. Our family shouldn't let Auntie's health suffer just because of my college entrance exams. Look how exhausted Auntie is. She must be completely worn out. She's so tired she didn't even wake up when called. It's really heartbreaking, hearing that I wanted to skip studying to take care of my mom at the hospital. Lucy immediately sprang up like a carp and rushed to support Mom. Linda, you just focus on your studies. Auntie isn't tired at all. I just dozed off for a moment and somehow fell asleep. From then on, Lucy knew that I was keeping a close eye on her, not daring to slack off in the slightest, afraid that I would feel sorry for her and come to take care of my mom. How could I possibly feel sorry for her? I was studying hard as they suggested, except I was actually preparing for the Yale University direct admission exam. In my previous life, when Fiona moved into our home, my aunt saw my review materials and casually remarked, "This doesn't look like high school entrance exam material." I had just told my mom that I had qualified for the early admission school recruitment exam. She casually shared the good news. Linda passed the preliminary exam for early admission and is now preparing for the entrance exams of several schools. If she gets in, she won't have to take the high school entrance exam. My uncle's whole family sat up straight. I don't need to take the college entrance exam if I get a guaranteed admission, Uncle muttered to himself, glanced at Aunt, and the whole family exchanged looks. That deep look sealed the fate of my failed guaranteed admission. Later on, Fiona lived and ate with us, and soon found out that I was allergic to oats. On the day of my admission exam, she kindly prepared a glass of milk for me. After drinking it, I had a severe allergic reaction and was hospitalized. It was later discovered that the milk I drank contained oats. Fiona kept apologizing and even slapped herself in front of me, saying she deserved to die. "It's my fault, sister. I shouldn't have accidentally given you the milk I was drinking." She held my hand and said, "But cousin, you still have the college entrance exam. Your grades are so good. You're definitely going to get into Yale University." I found her utterly disgusting and pushed her away, causing Fiona to hit her head against the wall. Originally, the teachers and classmates all felt sorry for me because I lost my guaranteed admission, but after this incident, they started to think I had gone a bit too far. This damn green tea bitch. I didn't even use any force, but from that moment on, I knew Fiona was a bad seed. Although I never understood why she was so invested in everything related to my college entrance exams. Whenever I casually mentioned some top-secret exam papers at the dinner table, she would immediately have my aunt buy them at a high price. Now I know, whatever stands in the way of my college entrance exam, she will destroy it. Then, what if the one standing in the way of my college entrance exam is her? If it weren't for my uncle mentioning the LD group at the hospital, I would have almost forgotten about Charles. He is handsome and his family is wealthy. When he cornered me at the school gate and handed me a bunch of love letters, my classmates were astonished. "Linda, how do you know the heir of the LD group? I heard he has a girlfriend from the same school named Linda, and she's extremely domineering. Anyone who dares to speak to Charles will be dragged to the restroom and slapped. You better be careful not to get involved with these people. I really don't want to get caught up in such a terrifying love triangle." It scared me so much that I ended up changing the time I come home in this life. The time I was reborn was also after Charles gave me the love letter. However, since coming back, we haven't run into each other until I secretly took the Yale University's direct admission exam. On my way back, I ran into Charles and his father at the airport exit. I took the initiative to walk up and greet Charles. I also mentioned that I greatly admire Chairman Smith and asked if I could take a photo with him. Charles quickly introduced me. "Dad, this is Linway, the top student in her grade at City No. 1 high school. With her grades, she's most likely the city's top science student." Chairman Smith gave a thumbs up, and the three of us took a photo together. Then, I anonymously posted this photo on the confession wall. For a while, rumors were flying everywhere. I saw Charles come to our school before to give Linway a love letter, but I didn't expect things to progress so quickly. The top student in the grade paired with the son of the city's richest family. This storyline is bound to be interesting. Wasn't it said that Charles's girlfriend is Fiona from the same school? Have they already broken up? Don't you know, Chairman Smith has long said that to become his daughter-in-law, one must get into Yale or Peking University. I casually glanced at a few messages and then continued peeling an apple for my mom by the hospital bed. Mom's surgery was very successful. My aunt took care of her tirelessly for over 2 months, handling everything from feeding to cleaning, which allowed me to focus on my studies and participate in the school's direct admission recruitment. The results were already out this morning. Seeing that I had time to come to the hospital, my aunt urged me, "Linda, You don't need to come to the hospital anymore, your mom is being discharged tomorrow, so hurry. Back and focus on your studies. My uncle was also there, and he said, the college entrance exam is just around the corner, don't mess up at this critical moment, go back and study. Little did they know, I had already been recommended for admission to Yale University. What's there to study? Study how their family killed me and my mother in their previous life. How did they ruthlessly plot against us step by step this time? It's their turn to experience what true despair feels like. I was halfway through peeling an apple when Fiona stormed in. She kicked open the door of the hospital room, pointed at me, and yelled angrily, Linway, you bitch, how dare you seduce my boyfriend? I blinked my innocent big eyes. Cousin, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you mean, she yelled. I've seen the photos, tell me, what did Charles and his father say to you? I pretended to think for a moment, then said, she didn't say much. Just that if I get into Yale, she wants me to marry into the Smith family and become the young mistress of the LD group. Such lines from a novel, I would never have been able to say them in my past life, but in this life, I can rattle them off effortlessly. Sure enough, Fiona was so angry that her eyes turned bloodshot. You agreed, I shrugged and said ambiguously, it's not so bad, is it? Fiona gritted her teeth so hard it seemed they might shatter, and she lunged at me. Linway, you're just dreaming, you won't get in, and even if you do, that score will be mine. I am the young madam of the LD group, I am Charles's wife, you, the daughter of a garbage collector, dreaming of a sparrow turning into a phoenix. Keep dreaming. The force with which she lunged was quite strong, but brute force is no match for skill. I merely shifted my body slightly, and Fiona ended up missing her mark, falling face first. Thud, she fell flat on her face. My aunt rushed over to help her up, saying, you're just too impatient. What's the rush? Adults will be adults. But Fiona is still too emotional. Look at my uncle and aunt, they're different. Even if I openly and covertly boast about snatching their future son-in-law, they don't get anxious anyway. With the system, as soon as I finish the college entrance exam, I'll be erased right now. It's all just empty talk, it doesn't count. However, the next sentence I said made them completely unable to sit still. I said, sister, since you said I'm daydreaming and won't get into college, and even if I do, the score will be yours. I sat down on the chair, then I won't take the exam. My unflappable uncle quickly stood up. Linway, what nonsense are you talking again? See, you're getting worked up. You're not calling me your niece anymore, and you're not calling me Linda either. You're calling me by my full name. Since he's almost unable to keep up the act, I won't be sarcastic with them anymore. I glared at him sternly. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. I can take responsibility for my words. Can Fiona do the same for hers? With that, I started pulling out my phone. Uncle, Aunt, it's not that I don't want to take the college entrance exam, it's that Fiona doesn't want me to. You all heard it too. Not a single word I said was false, right? I choked up and started calling my homeroom teacher to tell him I wouldn't be taking the exam. I had it on speakerphone, and the homeroom teacher shouted from the other end, Linway, what nonsense are you talking? You've already... I quickly hung up because I knew the teachers next words would be, you've already been admitted to Yale University, why are you even taking the college entrance exam? Then I can't let my uncle's family hear it now. After all, I still have other plans. Uncle David is a 6-foot-tall man who started out working on construction sites, strong and robust. When he saw that I had actually called the homeroom teacher and said I wouldn't be taking the college entrance exam, he was so angry that he kicked Fiona in the stomach. You good for nothing. You can't do anything right and only cause trouble. Hurry up and apologize to your cousin. Fiona clutched her stomach, sweating from the pain. Aunt Lucy hadn't intended to scold her daughter at first, but after making that call and realizing I was serious, she immediately became furious with her daughter. Instead of living a comfortable life as a noble lady, she was here dealing with filth and tirelessly caring for her sister-in-law who collected scraps, even neglecting her own sick mother. She endured all the humiliation and hardship just for the moment Linway took the college entrance exam, just as she had taken care of Linway's elderly mother until she was discharged from the hospital, and the college entrance exam was about to begin. Everything was ruined by her own daughter. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became, and she raised her hand and gave Fiona a resounding slap. What are you still doing lying on the ground? Hurry up and apologize to your sister. I remained seated. Mom was even more stunned as she watched all of this, unable to understand what had happened during her illness. I whispered to comfort her, Mom, I'll explain everything to you later. For now, don't ask anything. I looked at Fiona, whose face was red from being slapped. In my previous life, when I was hospitalized due to an allergy, Fiona performed a self-slapping act in front of everyone. She just lightly slapped herself twice, and the matter was brushed off as if it were nothing. I also Remembered classmates saying that if anyone dared to speak a word to Charles, she would drag them into the restroom and slap them. I think, since Fiona enjoys performing slaps so much in this lifetime, I'll let her perform to her heart's content. Fiona also realized that her impulsiveness had ruined everything. She crawled to my feet and whispered, "Good sister, I was wrong, please forgive me. You can't ruin your own life just because of me not taking the college entrance exam." Without even lifting my eyelids, I said, "Weren't you just calling me a filthy bitch? How come I'm your dear sister now? What is your face made of? It changes so quickly." Fiona looked at her mother, who was glaring at her fiercely, and her father, who was ready to kick her at any moment, and knew she had no way out. She gritted her teeth and slapped herself hard across the face. "Cousin, it's my fault. I shouldn't have slandered you and called you a bitch." "I'm the bitch." I raised an eyebrow, signaling for her to continue. Fiona slapped herself again. "Cousin, it's my fault. I shouldn't have talked nonsense. Your score is your score, and no one can take it away. This family has endured so much humiliation, just waiting to see me make a fool of myself." Little did they know, I had already written the ending for them. I waited until Fiona had slapped her face into a swollen mess before I finally spoke. "To have me forgive you and take the college entrance exam, it's not impossible, but I have one condition. In my previous life, after I died, Fiona not only took the score that originally belonged to me, but also took the lives of my mother and me. They also took away the memories that belonged to my father. The shanty house that my father left for my mother and me before he passed away was taken over by my uncle. They threw out my father's memorial photo. They cut up the family photo of the three of us with scissors. All those things that were incredibly precious to me were thrown out like trash by them in this lifetime. I want them to experience it too," I said. "I want that large apartment of yours in the city center." My uncle was shocked. My aunt's eyes widened. Fiona's face was swollen like a pig's, and her speech was slurred, but I still understood what she said. "That was bought with Dad's life." Of course I knew that. Otherwise, why would I have asked for his house instead of just demanding money directly? Before my uncle became a contractor, he was a skilled worker with his educational background. As long as he continued his studies and gradually obtained the technical qualifications, he could become a technical advisor and earn money. But at that time, he wanted to take a shortcut. At the time, the son of a city official needed a kidney transplant. He secretly went to get tested and found that he was a match, so he donated his kidney for free. One kidney was exchanged for a construction project, earning him an apartment and a car. This is the origin of that large flat. Asking my uncle to give up this apartment is almost like taking his life. "Sure enough," my uncle said sternly. "Linway, that's enough. Whether you take the college entrance exam or not is none of our business. If it weren't for me, your uncle, seeing your good grades and wanting to discipline you properly on behalf of your father, so that when you get into college, our Sioux family can also share in the glory, since you're hopeless and can't be helped, why should we bother, elder sister? From now on, I won't interfere with your family matters anymore." "Wife, Fiona, let's go." As the family walked out, Uncle David finally understood completely. First, he spent over 700,000 yuan on his elder sister's medical treatment as Linway requested, and then, following Linda's suggestion, he had his wife serve as a free caregiver for his sister for more than 2 months. All along, he had been led by the nose by this niece. How is that fair? It was precisely because the whole family had a guilty conscience that they were so eager for her to take the college entrance exam. Now he has come to his senses and realized that he should act as if the system never existed. Could it be that his sister would really allow her daughter to skip the college entrance exam? But David was wrong. The moment he left, I immediately told my mom about the guaranteed admission, including the part about being erased by the system. I told my mom that when she died alone with a urine bag in her previous life, she didn't cry. I told my mom that when our house was taken over by my uncle in my previous life, she didn't even cry. It wasn't until later, when I mentioned being erased by the system and dying in a car accident, that my mom started sobbing. She said, "Good daughter, if others don't offend me, I won't offend them, but if others offend me, I will surely retaliate. Do what you believe is right, and Mom will always stand by your side." I asked the school to keep my direct admission confidential for now. If someone asks me if I really won't be taking the college entrance exam, just say that it's indeed the case. After taking care of these matters, I truly stopped going to school and spent every day accompanying my mother through her rehabilitation training. I had only been at home for less than 3 days when my uncle's family couldn't hold back any longer. He persuaded my mom. "Sis, are you really going to let your daughter skip the college entrance exam? She's got what it takes to get into Yale." My mom sighed. "I'm old and useless now. How can I control her?" He then tried to persuade me. "Linda, even if you Don't think about yourself, think about your poor father. He would definitely want you to get into college and bring honor to his name." I laughed. "My dad came to me in a dream and said that more than going to college, he wants me to live in a big house with my mom. Since my uncle can't make that happen, I'll work and earn it myself." The couple tried so hard to persuade me that they were practically losing their voices, but I just wouldn't go to school. With the college entrance exam just around the corner, I could afford to wait, but they couldn't. Finally, my uncle made up his mind. He took me to transfer the property title. Transferring the title is just the first step. I'm afraid he might drag his feet and refuse to move out. Just tell him that I won't return to school until he moves out. My uncle had no choice but to arrange the move on the same afternoon after transferring the title in the morning. But when it came time to move, I started causing trouble again. I said, according to the terms of the contract, aside from the necessary documents, nothing else can be taken. My uncle stomped his foot in anger. "Those are all personal belongings of our family of 3. What use do you have for them?" I shrugged. "It's clearly stated in the contract. If you're curious, just stand by and see what use they actually have." Then, my uncle and aunt watched as I instructed the workers to take down their well-preserved wedding photo. Everything was smashed and thrown into the trash. I had their mattresses torn to shreds by the people I arranged. David, Lucy, and Fiona watched as I directed the workers to haphazardly dispose of their personal belongings, their hearts breaking. Lucy cried until her body went weak, saying, "Oh heavens, this is the home I've lived in for over a decade." Fiona also cried, saying, "Dad, cousin has made us lose our home." Only David watched all of this with a gloomy expression. He said, "Once the college entrance exams are over, all of this will still belong to us," he said. "Wife, daughter, don't forget, we still have the system." David doesn't avoid mentioning the system in front of me at all, thinking I don't know about it, but in reality, I am reborn. I know everything, and I have everything planned out to prevent me from not taking the college entrance exam. Uncle David was responsible for the transportation on those days, saying it was transportation. It was actually surveillance, but it didn't matter anymore. Once the college entrance exam was over, everything would be over. I was the first to hand in my paper for every subject. As soon as the people from the TV station see me come out, they say, "Little girl, you're the first one out of the exam hall again. What's your secret to answering so quickly?" Secret. The secret is that I silently looked at the exam paper for dozens of minutes and didn't write a single word. Only my oblivious uncle is beaming with joy. She is a top student at her school, famously the top of her grade. So of course she finished the exam quickly. I could sense my uncle's inner joy. I overheard him on the phone that night, and he said, "Honey, there's only one more day left. Once the exams are over, we'll be free. I know living in a rented place isn't comfortable, but it's just for one more month." He envisioned. By then, Fiona will use her grades to get into Yale, marry the Smith heir of the LD group, and our projects will be endless. Forget buying one apartment for your family. We could buy 3. At times, he would grit his teeth and say, "When the system eliminates Linway, I'll definitely set off firecrackers for 3 days straight." My foolish uncle. Setting off firecrackers in the city is subject to fines. Also, the system is eliminating you, not me. However, I won't say it. Tomorrow's matters will be discussed tomorrow. When the final subject's exam was over, I was once again the first one to walk out of the examination hall. The reporter asked me again, "Classmate, can you tell us why you were able to finish the exam so quickly?" My uncle was already extremely excited. "I already told you, Linway is the top student in her grade. Of course she finished quickly." However, when no one was paying attention, he leaned in and whispered to me, "Linway, the time has come. Let me tell you, Fiona wasn't lying. You'll never get into college because the scores you earn will become Fiona's scores. A sparrow can never become a phoenix." I sneered. "Is that so? Well, I'll be waiting to see." After the college entrance exam ended, I never saw my uncle and his family again. It's normal. To them, I had already lost my value. They were just waiting for the system to eliminate me, so they could come collect the body and take over my house. I saw them again on television. That day was when the college entrance exam scores were released. Uncle David, along with Lucy and Fiona, were in the LD group office. The room was also packed with reporters. Uncle David said, "Chairman Smith, your son promised my Fiona that he would marry her if she got into Yale University. You're not going to go back on your word, are you?" In the footage, a fleeting glimpse of the hospital's patient records could be seen. There was also a handwritten guarantee letter. Chairman Smith's expression was serious, but as an entrepreneur, he had to maintain a positive image. He nodded and said, "I always keep my word." Uncle David's hands trembled as he said, "Well, I truly admire Chairman Smith's character, which is why I specifically brought reporters here to serve as witnesses. Fiona, come on, you can start checking the scores now. Uncle David was confident. Before binding the system, he had already done his research among his relatives. The one with both the ability and the blood relation to get into Yale University was none other than his niece, Linda. Her exam scores had never dropped below 700 points. He had already started fantasizing about his business growing bigger and bigger, eventually surpassing even the LD group, but the next second, a reporter's voice shattered his fantasy. 0 points, seriously, 0 points, and they still called me over. What a waste of my chance to interview the real top scorer. What, 0 points? Uncle David, seeing the reporters gathered and discussing, snatched his daughter's phone. He was completely unaware that Fiona's expression had become dazed, as if her soul had left her body. However, when he saw the phone screen, Chinese, 0 points math, 0 points English, 0 points when science composite was also 0 points, he exclaimed in disbelief. How is this possible? It can't be. Linwei is the top student in the grade, and Linda is a city-level academic prodigy. How could she possibly score 0 points? No one understood what he was saying, but I know what David means. The next second, my phone rang. Watching him on the live news broadcast, I answered the call. David's face was twisted beyond recognition, his voice sounding as if it came from hell. Linda, how could you possibly score 0 on the exam? Do you know something? But no matter what, scoring 0 won't get you into college. What good does it do you? I smiled faintly. Uncle, you don't know yet, but I've been recommended for admission, haven't I? I just took the college entrance exam for fun. David didn't believe it at all. How could you possibly have the chance to be recommended? I had Fiona keep an eye on you. I would know as soon as you left the city, and I would do everything to stop you. I sighed. You can blame your precious daughter for that. I just imitated Charles's handwriting and wrote her a few love letters. I also told her that the 2 days I went to be city for the exam were the anniversary of Charles's mother's death, and asked her to copy the scriptures 1,000 times for Charles's mother, then hand them to me for inspection. She completely forgot about keeping an eye on me. She spent 2 full days and nights copying the scriptures. By the time she slept soundly for another 2 nights, I had already returned. Uncle's mind was a bit muddled. He was loudly scolding his daughter, telling her to say a few words, while also clutching his head in agony. Impossible. You can't have been recommended for admission, I patiently explained. If you turn on YQ Channel 3, you'll see whether what I'm saying is true or not. Uncle David snatched the remote control and turned on the LCD TV in Chairman Smith's office. YQ Channel 3 was reporting, this year, our city has a total of 3 students admitted to Yale University, among whom Linda from YQ. No one high school was directly recommended for admission. With a scream, David jumped from his 33rd floor office. The reporters were thrown into chaos unnoticed. Fiona had already run downstairs, with her Aunt Lucy chasing after her, trying to catch her. The 2 of them were almost simultaneously hit by a massive truck. At that moment, my mind synchronized with the mechanical system voice in their heads. Dear host, unfortunately, the score exchange has failed. You did not meet the system's requirement of scoring over 600 in the college entrance exam. Your entire family will be eliminated. 3, 2, 1, bang, bang, bang. 3 bodies hit the ground simultaneously. The scene was utterly gruesome. I hung up the phone. Standing in the newly purchased house, beyond the large floor-to-ceiling window, the setting sun was as red as blood. As the saying goes, evil deeds bring their own retribution. If the reward is not given, it is only because the time has not yet come. It can also be said, life and death in an instant, good and evil in an instant. Only the righteous path can be eternal. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.